Along the quiet coasts of northern Denmark, where the Limfjord meets the sea, a forgotten story lies buried beneath heaps of shells and sand. Thousands of years before the first farmers plowed the European soil, a remarkable community of fisher hunters thrived between the tides, known today as the Ertebolle culture. These Stone Age people mastered the coastal world of Scandinavia at the close of the Mesolithic era, living in balance with both land and sea. Their story begins over 7,000 years ago, and it challenges everything we think we know about the origins of civilization. The tale of the Ertebolle people emerged from the ground in 1893, when Danish archaeologists near the small village of Ertebolle uncovered a massive mound of oyster shells stretching more than 100 meters. Beneath the thick white layers of discarded shell lay bones, tools, and fragments of pottery. What seemed like a simple rubbish heap turned out to be one of the richest archaeological sites in northern Europe, evidence of an entire culture that had disappeared long before recorded history. Radiocarbon dating would later reveal that these people flourished between 5,300 and 3,950 BCE. During the final centuries of the Stone Age, when Europe stood at the threshold of farming and permanent settlement, to understand the Ertebolle world, we must picture a planet still recovering from the Ice Age. As glaciers melted, coastlines shifted, rivers widened, and fertile wetlands emerged. The rising seas of the North Atlantic created the bays and fjords that became home to this resilient community. Forests of birch, oak, and pine surrounded the shallow inlets, while shoals of fish filled the coastal waters. For the Ertebolle, this environment offered everything they needed: food, shelter, and tools for survival. They settled along estuaries and islands, building seasonal camps that balanced the bounty of land and sea. Central to their way of life were the shell middens, or kokenmedding, as they are known in Danish. These ancient heaps of discarded shells, animal bones, and ashes reveal the rhythm of daily life. To archaeologists, they are time capsules, preserving layer upon layer of meals, fires, and human activity. Within these middens, we find the fingerprints of a people who returned to the same sites for centuries, eating, crafting, and burying their dead. Each layer marks another generation's story, a literal archive of Stone Age existence. The Ertebolle industry, the set of tools and techniques they developed, shows a remarkable understanding of both craftsmanship and adaptation. Using flint, they created finely chipped scrapers, knives, and arrowheads. From antler and bone, they fashioned harpoons, awls, and fishhooks designed for precision. Their tools were neither crude nor primitive. They were specialized, efficient, and refined through centuries of experimentation. In some cases, we can even identify the wear marks from fishing lines or animal hides, the physical traces of a toolmaker's touch. One of the most fascinating aspects of their culture is their pottery, among the earliest found in northern Europe. The Ertebolle were hunter-gatherers who adopted pottery long before they began farming. Their clay vessels were hand-built, often with rounded bases, and decorated with fingertip or cord impressions. These pots were not just functional, they reflected artistic taste and identity. They were used to cook fish stews, store seal oil, and light blubber lamps that illuminated huts after dark. This use of fire and ceramic technology marks a subtle shift toward domesticity, a step closer to the settled life of later Neolithic farmers. Archaeological reconstructions show that the Ertebolle people lived in light wooden huts near the water's edge. Fires burned at the center of their shelters while smoke rose through thatched roofs. The remains of hearths, tools, and cooking stones suggest organized living spaces, sometimes used for months at a time before being abandoned or rebuilt. These coastal camps followed the rhythm of the seasons. In summer, families gathered shellfish and fish. When winter, they moved inland to hunt deer and wild boar. This mobility ensured sustainable use of resources, preventing exhaustion of local ecosystems. Fishing was the backbone of their economy. Excavations reveal fish traps woven from hazel branches, net weights, and bone hooks of extraordinary craftsmanship. They caught pike, cod, eel, and perch in the estuaries, while seals and porpoises provided meat and fat. Birds and shellfish added variety to their diet, and hazelnuts, berries, and wild apples offered carbohydrates. Scientific isotope analysis of their bones confirms that marine protein dominated their diet, their bodies literally built from the chemistry of the sea. Transportation and trade were made possible by dugout canoes carved from single oak trunks. These boats carried families across fjords and islands, connecting distant groups. They also formed part of early trade networks. Amber, flint, and animal pelts were exchanged across vast distances. Even without roads or metal, these Stone Age seafarers created an informal web of communication that stretched from Denmark to northern Germany and southern Sweden. The Ertebolle people also expressed a clear sense of aesthetics and ritual. Amber beads, bone pendants, and animal tooth ornaments have been found at many sites, hinting at personal identity and social meaning. At burial grounds like Vedbeck and Skateholm, men, women, and children were laid to rest with care, sprinkled with red ochre, and accompanied by tools and ornaments. Such burials suggest belief in an afterlife and deep respect for kinship. The discovery of mother and child graves reveals emotional bonds preserved across millennia, reminding us of their humanity beyond the statistics of archaeology. Women in Ertebolle society likely played vital roles, gathering plants, preparing food, weaving nets, and maintaining the rhythm of daily life. Their work complemented the hunting and fishing done by men, creating an efficient partnership essential for survival. Children learned early by observing adults, mastering the skills of fishing, crafting, and navigation through practice rather than instruction. Knowledge was passed down through action and repetition, creating a living form of education sustained across generations. The Ertebolle world was not isolated. To the south, the Neolithic Revolution was transforming Europe. Farming cultures like the linear pottery and Funnelbeaker peoples were spreading northward from Central Europe. Contact between these farmers and the Ertebolle hunter-fishers was inevitable. Through exchange and imitation, the Ertebolle adopted some new technologies: polished stone axes, domesticated pigs, and even small-scale crop cultivation. Yet they retained their core identity. They were selective innovators, absorbing new ideas while continuing their ancient coastal traditions. This hybridization created a unique cultural blend that delayed the full arrival of farming in Scandinavia by centuries. Eventually, around 3950 BCE, the Funnelbeaker culture fully replaced the Ertebolle way of life. Farming and herding spread across the region, marking the dawn of the Neolithic in the north. But the influence of the Ertebolle endured. Their pottery styles, coastal settlements, and maritime skills continued to shape Scandinavian communities long after their name vanished from memory. The shift was gradual, more an evolution than an extinction. What makes the Ertebolle story remarkable is not just how they lived, but how they endured. Environmental changes repeatedly tested them. Rising seas forced constant relocation, yet they rebuilt. Cold winters limited hunting, yet they adapted with diverse diets and stored resources. They demonstrated resilience, a capacity to survive through knowledge rather than domination. In many ways, their relationship with nature was more balanced than ours today. Modern underwater archaeology has expanded our understanding of this culture. Many Ertebolle sites now lie beneath the Baltic Sea, preserved under layers of sand and silt. Divers have discovered fish traps, hearths, and footprints, moments frozen in time. These submerged settlements are not relics of failure, but proof of adaptability. The people did not vanish suddenly. They adjusted as the environment transformed around them. Each discovery adds a new page to the unwritten book of prehistoric Europe. Scientific analysis continues to refine our view. Isotope testing reveals that Ertebolle diets were overwhelmingly marine-based. While DNA studies show genetic continuity with earlier Mesolithic groups, they were likely dark-haired and light-eyed, their appearance reflecting adaptation to the northern sun. Their robust skeletons show strength and skill, but also the hardships of labor, arthritis, injuries, and short lifespans averaging around 35 years. Yet they persisted for more than 1,000 years, suggesting stability born of experience. The Ertebolle story also challenges popular ideas about progress. We often imagine history as a straight line from primitive to advanced, from hunter-gatherer to farmer to city builder. But the Ertebolle remind us that progress can take many forms. They were complex, inventive, and sustainable, thriving without agriculture or metallurgy. Their success was measured not in monuments, but in equilibrium, a balanced coexistence with their surroundings. For archaeologists, the Ertebolle represent a turning point. Their artifacts bridged worlds, the Mesolithic and the Neolithic. They forced scholars to reconsider what defines civilization. Was it farming, or was it knowledge? The ability to adapt and innovate. In the Ertebolle, we see a society that achieved both. They were not relics of a fading age, but pioneers of a new environmental intelligence. Today, museums and research centers across Denmark preserve this legacy. At the Ertebolle Museum near Limfjord, visitors can walk along reconstructed huts, study ancient tools, and even stand atop the original shell mound. For students and archaeologists, these sites are living classrooms, reminders that history's greatest teachers are often those who left no written words. As we face our own era of environmental change, the lessons of the Ertebolle are increasingly relevant. They understood the need to live within ecological limits. They thrived through mobility, cooperation, and respect for natural cycles. Their disappearance was not failure, but transformation, an adaptation to new realities that mirrors the challenges we face today with rising seas and shifting climates. The Ertebolle story is also deeply human. Behind every flint blade and pottery shard lies a family, a fire, a community that worked together to endure. The shell middens that once marked their campsites were not symbols of waste, but of continuity, layer upon layer of shared life. In these quiet mounds of shell and bone, we can still read the history of humanity's long dialogue with the sea. In the end, the Ertebolle culture stands as a bridge, connecting the wild freedom of hunter-gatherers with the organized world of farmers. Their innovations in pottery, fishing, and coastal living laid foundations for future societies. They remind us that progress does not always mean conquest. Sometimes it means adaptation. From the misty shores of Denmark to the depths of the Baltic Sea, their traces remain silent, but enduring. The story of Europe's lost Stone Age fishermen is not one of disappearance, but of survival through change. The Ertebolle people may be gone, but their wisdom still echoes in every coastal tide that washes over their ancient home. If this story inspires you to see history differently, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into humanity's forgotten past. The next chapter of our prehistoric journey awaits, where the echoes of our ancestors continue to shape the world we live in today.